8-foot sword unearthed from 1,600-year-old burial mound in Japan. In November 2022, Japanese archaeologists made an extraordinary discovery at the Tomio Maruyama burial mound near the city of Nara. Hidden beneath the earth for over 1,600 years were two artifacts of immense cultural and historical importance: a massive 7.5-foot-long iron sword and a large bronze mirror. Both relics were unearthed from one of Japan's most significant burial sites, and their sheer size and craftsmanship have left scholars astonished. The sword is unlike anything previously discovered in Japan. Measuring more than twice the length of other ancient swords, it is believed to be the largest iron sword ever unearthed in the country. Its blade, undulating like the body of a snake, suggests it was not designed for combat or self-defense, but rather for ceremonial or symbolic purposes. Riku Murase, an archaeologist from the Nara Archaeological Research Center, emphasized the uniqueness of the find, noting that its dimensions surpass every other sword from the era. At first, researchers thought they had uncovered multiple swords lying side by side, only to realize that the colossal weapon was a single piece forged with remarkable skill. Alongside the sword, archaeologists also uncovered an enormous bronze mirror shaped like a shield. Measuring 25 inches by 12 inches and weighing over 12 pounds, the mirror is the largest of its kind discovered in Japan to date. Scholars believe it was created not for practical use, but as a ritual object designed to ward off malevolent spirits. The combination of the oversized sword and mirror points to their significance in burial rituals and their role in protecting the deceased in the afterlife. These artifacts belong to the Kofun period, which spanned from around the year 300 to 710. This era is named for the massive keyhole-shaped burial mounds, or kofun, constructed for elite members of society. The Tomio Maruyama mound is one of the largest in the region, believed to have been built for a person of immense status and authority. The presence of such extraordinary grave goods reinforces the idea that the individuals interred within these tombs held not only political power, but also spiritual importance in their communities. The discovery of the sword and mirror sheds new light on the beliefs, rituals, and artistry of ancient Japan. Both items symbolize more than just wealth or craftsmanship. They represent the fusion of spiritual protection, ceremonial grandeur, and the reverence for leaders during the Kofun period. These treasures, preserved for centuries beneath the earth, now provide a rare and invaluable glimpse into Japan's distant past. The world's oldest known wooden structure predates our species. The discovery of the world's oldest known wooden structure in Zambia has rewritten the timeline of human innovation. Found near the towering Kalambo Falls, the structure consists of interlocking logs that date back approximately 476,000 years. This incredible find predates the evolution of Homo sapiens by more than 120,000 years, suggesting that our distant ancestors possessed far greater technical and construction skills than previously believed. Archaeologists have long understood that early hominids used wood for tools, fire, and basic implements, but this discovery marks the earliest known instance of wood being deliberately shaped and interlocked to create a larger structure. The researchers believe that the logs may have been used to build a raised platform, a walkway, or even the foundation of a shelter. This suggests that early humans may not have been entirely nomadic, as previously assumed, but instead had the ability to construct semi-permanent or even permanent dwellings. Kalambo Falls provided an ideal environment for early hominins. One of the most remarkable aspects of this discovery is the craftsmanship involved. The logs were deliberately shaped to fit together in a way that suggests advanced planning and an understanding of structural integrity. This level of skill implies a level of cognitive ability that had not been previously attributed to humans of this period. Until now, the oldest known modified wooden object was a carved wood tool from South Africa, dated to the Middle Stone Age, which is significantly younger than the Kalambo Falls structure. The dating of this extraordinary find was made possible through advanced luminescence dating techniques. By analyzing the minerals in the surrounding sand and determining the last time they were exposed to sunlight, scientists were able to estimate that the artifact is close to 500,000 years old. This method provides a more accurate timeline of ancient human activity and has allowed researchers to place this wooden structure within a crucial period of early human development. The implications of this discovery are profound. It suggests that early hominins were not only toolmakers, but also builders, capable of manipulating their environment in ways previously thought to be unique to later human species. This challenges the assumption that complex construction techniques only emerged with Homo sapiens. Instead, it indicates that the cognitive abilities necessary for such engineering feats were present in human ancestors much earlier than previously recognized. Moreover, this discovery raises new questions about the capabilities of early hominins. If they were able to construct such structures, what other technological advancements might they have achieved that have yet to be uncovered? The Kalambo Falls discovery also has implications for our understanding of social behavior in early human societies. The construction of a wooden structure would likely have required cooperation, planning, and communication among multiple individuals. This suggests that early hominins may have lived in more structured social groups than previously thought, working together to create sustainable living spaces. This would have given them a significant survival advantage, allowing them to remain in one place and develop more complex societal behaviors. This groundbreaking find further highlights the importance of re-examining archaeological sites with modern technology. Future excavations at Kalambo Falls could uncover additional evidence of early human settlement, providing further clues about how these ancient builders lived, what tools they used, and how they interacted with their environment. The Lydenburg Heads. The collection of 7 ceramic skulls was given the name of the location where they were found in the eastern Transvaal region of South Africa. The use of radiocarbon dating on charcoal samples retrieved from the excavation site has determined that the heads were interred at that location around in 500 AD, thereby establishing them as the most ancient African Iron Age artworks discovered south of the equator. The reconstructed heads are not exactly the same, but they do possess certain common features. The strips of clay are shaped into thin oval eyes, slightly protruding mouths, noses, and ears, with raised bands that decorate the faces. The backs of the heads are embellished with carved linear designs. The columnar necks are characterized by prominent grooved bands. Many African peoples consider necks adorned with fat as a symbol of wealth and continue to hold this belief. Nevertheless, the lack of substantial knowledge about the ancient culture responsible for creating the Lydenburg heads makes it currently unattainable to determine if the rings on them were intended to be interpreted in this manner. The 2 largest heads could have functioned as helmet masks. The larger heads can be distinguished from the smaller ones by the presence of animal figurines on their summits and the small clay spheres that create the illusion of elevated hairlines. The animals, previously concealed by a thick layer, are now challenging to recognize but possess circular faces that evoke the image of a lion's mane. The 5 smaller heads share similarities, save for one that features an animal face with a protruding snout. These skulls are too small to have been worn as helmets. They all feature small holes on either side of their lowest neck rings, which may have been utilized for attachment purposes. Due to several factors, there is speculation that the heads were utilized in initiation rituals, and there is even a possibility that they were worn. Specularite, a type of hematite characterized by its lustrous appearance when rotated, was deliberately positioned on the masks within incisions and elevated regions like the eyebrows. This has been referenced as a potential evidence that the heads were utilized in public rituals, since their shimmering effect would have been strikingly noticeable when they were moved in the presence of light. The presence of perforations in the 5 smaller heads and the larger size of the 2 remaining heads may suggest that these ceramic heads served as masks worn during different ceremonial occasions. Unfortunately, it is impossible to have definite knowledge about any of this. The utilization and significance of the heads still remain a subject of speculation. However, it is evident from the intentional way in which the heads were buried that, regardless of their importance, they were regarded with enough reverence to be carefully laid to rest. Although the structures exhibit sophisticated designs and are rich in archaeological intricacies, the exact creators of these monuments remain unknown. There is a belief that the Iron Age Bantu-speaking people, who were a diverse collection of pastoral tribes across Africa, initially utilized these artifacts for religious purposes. While it is possible that this statement is accurate, it is important to note that our knowledge about them is quite limited as well. Presently, the Bantu consist of various separate groups and tribes, each with unique cultural attributes. the mysterious Shigir idol. The Shigir idol stands as one of the most extraordinary relics of human history, considered by researchers and archaeologists to be the world's oldest wooden sculpture. Towering at an impressive 5.3 meters tall, this hauntingly human-shaped artifact was carved from larchwood and decorated with striking geometric patterns and eerie facial features. Currently displayed at the Sverdlovsk Regional Museum of Local Law in Russia, it represents not only an archaeological wonder, but also a profound window into the creativity, spirituality, and craftsmanship of ancient peoples. Recent studies have revealed that the idol is even older than originally believed, dating back over 12,000 years, making it one of the earliest monumental artistic creations known to humankind. The Shigir idol was first unearthed in the year 1890 in the Shigir peat bog, located in the Ural Mountains of Russia. Peat bogs are known for their ability to preserve organic material, and it was this unique environment that allowed the wooden sculpture to survive for millennia. When it was first studied, estimates placed the idol's creation at roughly 11,500 years ago. This age alone positioned the sculpture as a remarkable artifact, far older than Stonehenge, which dates to around 5,000 years ago, and even older than the Great Pyramid of Giza, built more than 4,500 years ago. Yet, subsequent research has pushed its creation back further still, concluding that the idol was carved approximately 12,100 years ago. To put this into perspective, the Shigir idol predates not only monumental structures like the pyramids and Stonehenge, but also sits within a critical period in human history. It would have existed during the Quaternary extinction, a time roughly 10,000 years ago when much of the Ice Age megafauna, including woolly mammoths and giant deer, disappeared from the Earth. This makes the idol a creation of humans who lived in a world dramatically different from our own, where survival required constant adaptation to rapidly changing climates and ecosystems. The very existence of such an intricate and monumental wooden sculpture from this time challenges long-held assumptions about the sophistication of ancient hunter-gatherer societies. The idol itself is extraordinary in both form and detail. Standing taller than most humans, the sculpture originally reached over 5 meters in height, though it is now reconstructed from surviving fragments. Carved faces gaze outward from the wood, each expression adding to the mysterious aura of the artifact. Its surface is covered with geometric patterns, including zigzags, lines, and herringbone motifs, which are consistent with decorative traditions seen in other late Paleolithic and early Mesolithic artifacts. These symbols are not simply decorative. Many researchers believe they carried deep cultural or spiritual meaning, perhaps linked to cosmology, mythology, or ritual practices. The more recent dating of the idol came from meticulous reanalysis of radiocarbon results. In the year 2018, researchers dated the sculpture to around 11,500 years old, but this figure was influenced by conservation treatments that had been applied to the artifact over the last century. Wax coatings were used on the idol to preserve it as far back as the late 19th century, while wood pigments were added in the 1990s to repair damage and improve its appearance. These treatments inadvertently interfered with radiocarbon dating, making the sculpture appear younger than it actually was. To resolve this issue, scientists carefully extracted samples from the innermost, untouched parts of the wood, avoiding sections that had been affected by preservation methods. The results were stunning. The larch tree from which the idol was carved had died approximately 12,250 years ago. The researchers estimated that the tree would have been felled around 150 years later, meaning the sculpture was likely created around 12,100 years ago. This places the idol firmly within the period when human societies were transitioning from the late Paleolithic into the Mesolithic era. The age of the Shigir idol makes it not just an artifact, but a revolutionary discovery in the study of early human culture. At 12,000 years old, the sculpture reveals that people of the time were capable of creating complex, symbolic art long before the development of agriculture or permanent settlements. Historians have long associated monumental art with more advanced societies, but the Shigir idol suggests that nomadic hunter-gatherers had their own sophisticated traditions of ritual and symbolic expression. Its sheer scale and the effort required to carve it also indicate that it held significant meaning for the people who created it, possibly serving as a sacred object or a marker of cultural identity. Beyond its immense age, the idol also challenges perceptions of what early humans valued and how they expressed those values. The use of geometric motifs and stylized human faces implies an early form of storytelling or myth-making, with the carvings perhaps representing spirits, deities, or ancestral beings. Some researchers believe the idol may have functioned as a guide or protector for the community, while others suggest it might have been a representation of the world's order or a record of important events. The true purpose remains unknown, but its carvings offer tantalizing hints at the worldview of the people who made it. The Shigir idol's survival is itself remarkable. Wood is an organic material that typically decays quickly, leaving stone and bone as the dominant mediums of prehistoric artifacts. The peat bog where the idol was found acted as a natural preservative, locking the sculpture away from oxygen and halting the process of decay. Without this unique preservation, the idol would have vanished long ago, leaving no trace of its existence. Its discovery reminds us that the archaeological record is incomplete and that other equally remarkable creations may have been lost to time. The mystery of the Cochno Stone. The Cochno Stone in West Dunbartonshire, Scotland, stands as one of Europe's most mysterious and impressive examples of prehistoric rock art. This massive sandstone slab, measuring nearly 100 square meters, is covered in intricate carvings, including spirals, concentric circles, and cup and ring marks. Believed to date back to the Neolithic or Bronze Age, the stone contains over 90 symbols that continue to puzzle archaeologists, historians, and enthusiasts alike. First uncovered in the year 1887, the Cochno Stone quickly became a site of fascination, not only for scholars, but also for local residents who were drawn to its mysterious symbols. Yet despite its historical importance, the site has endured a turbulent history, culminating in its reburial in the spring of 1965 to protect it from vandalism. The scale of the Cochno Stone makes it one of the most significant sites of its kind in Britain. While similar carvings exist throughout the country, the sheer density and variety of designs carved into this stone make it unique. More than a dozen rock art sites have been identified in the surrounding region, but none match the scale and complexity of the Cochno Stone. Its carvings include interconnected spirals, radial lines, and geometric shapes, which suggest that its purpose extended beyond simple decoration. Some researchers believe the markings may have had ritual significance, perhaps connected to spiritual practices of the Neolithic people who created them. Others suggest that the designs may have been linked to celestial observation, acting as an early form of star map or calendar. The Cochno Stone was first brought to wider attention by antiquarians James Harvey, John Bruce, and William Donnelly in the late 19th century. Their efforts to document the site introduced it to academic circles and sparked interest among the general public. Over the following decades, the stone became something of a local attraction, drawing curious visitors eager to see the ancient symbols etched into its surface. This interest, however, soon had unintended consequences. By the early 20th century, the Cochno Stone was no longer simply a relic of prehistoric life, but had become a canvas for modern markings, with graffiti and initials carved by visitors damaging the ancient designs. One of the most unusual moments in the history of the Cochno Stone occurred in the year 1937, when Ludovic McClellan Mann, an eccentric antiquarian, painted the carvings with oil paints. Using bright colors such as white, green, yellow, blue, and red, Mann highlighted the prehistoric markings and added his own elaborate grid system to the stone's surface. His work was based on his interpretations of megalithic measurements and cosmological theories, blending genuine archaeology with imaginative storytelling. While Mann's colorful grid brought new attention to the site, it also blurred the line between authentic prehistoric carvings and modern embellishment. As the stone's fame spread, the pressures of urbanization added to its vulnerability. Increased foot traffic and the growth of surrounding populations meant that the site was under constant threat from vandalism. Despite efforts to manage and protect the stone, the situation became increasingly unsustainable. Finally, in the spring of 1965, authorities from the Ancient Monuments Board made the decision to rebury the Cochno Stone under several feet of soil. The decision, carried out without public consultation, was intended to preserve the site from further damage. For decades, the stone remained hidden, a buried treasure beneath the Scottish landscape. The reburial of the Cochno Stone ensured its physical survival, but it also created a new layer of mystery around the site. For years, Only written accounts and black and white photographs kept its memory alive. Researchers lamented the loss of access to such a significant piece of prehistoric heritage, while locals spoke of the stone in almost mythic terms, as though it were a relic of a forgotten world buried just beneath their feet. In recent years, archaeologists have returned to the site, using modern technology to study the carvings in greater detail. High-resolution scans and digital models have allowed researchers to explore the patterns without exposing the stone to damage, offering new insights into the artistry and symbolism of the ancient carvers. The mystery of the Kokno stone endures. Scholars continue to debate its purpose, with theories ranging from ritual use to astronomical alignment. Some argue that the carvings may have represented sacred maps of the heavens, while others believe they marked territorial boundaries or told stories now lost to time. What is certain, however, is that the Kokno stone reflects a high degree of creativity, intelligence, and symbolic thought from the people who created it thousands of years ago. For the local community, the Kokno stone is more than just an archaeological relic. Since the year 2015, projects have been carried out with community involvement to better understand not only the prehistoric carvings, but also the modern history of the site. These studies highlight how the meanings and uses of the stone have shifted over time, from sacred prehistoric site to antiquarian curiosity, from tourist attraction to protected monument. The Kokno stone embodies both ancient and modern narratives, its carvings acting as a bridge across millennia. Today, the Kokno stone stands as one of Europe's most extraordinary examples of prehistoric rock art, a reminder of the creativity and mystery of early human societies. Its carvings, etched deep into the sandstone, speak of a world where ritual, art, and observation of the cosmos were intertwined. The decision to rebury it may have hidden it from public view, but it also safeguarded its legacy for future generations. Great Zimbabwe Ruins. The remains of Great Zimbabwe, believed by an ancient tale to have been the capital of the Queen of Sheba, serve as a remarkable testament to the Bantu civilization of the Shona people from the 11th to the 15th century. The city, spanning an area of around 80 hectares, held significant prominence as a trading hub and gained widespread recognition starting from the Middle Ages. Situated in a sparsely populated Bantu Shona region, the Great Zimbabwe National Monument is situated in the Lowveld at an elevation of roughly 1,100 meters, approximately 30 kilometers from Masvingo. The property, constructed from 1100 to 1450 AD, spans about 800 hectares and is categorized into three sections: the hill ruins, the great enclosure, and the valley ruins. The massive granite outcrop known as the hill ruins, which face both northeast and southwest, was constantly occupied from the 11th to the 15th century, and multiple layers of remnants of human dwellings can be found there. The enclosures are formed from rough granite rubble stone blocks, which can be entered by small corridors that are partially covered. The Acropolis is commonly regarded as a royal city. The western enclosure is believed to have housed successive leaders, while the eastern enclosure, where 6 stalactite upright poles adorned with birds were discovered, is likely to have served a ceremonial function. Located south of the hills and built in the 14th century, the great enclosure is shaped like an ellipsis. The structure was constructed using precisely cut granite blocks arranged in uniform layers. It comprises a sequence of Daga hut residences, a communal space, and a short corridor that leads to a tall conical tower. The bricks, known as Daga, were manufactured using a blend of granitic sand and clay. Within the stone enclosure walls, huts were constructed. Inside the communal area, further walls delineate each family's space, often consisting of a kitchen, 2 dwelling huts, and a courtyard. The 19th century dwelling ensembles dispersed across the valley are known as the valley ruins. Every ensemble shares common features, such as the use of brick in various constructions, huts, inside flooring and seats, holders for receivers and basins, and the use of dry stone masonry walls to provide insulation for each ensemble. The construction work exhibited a remarkable level of skill and artistry, reminiscent of later advancements in the Stone Age. It had intricate wall decorations adorned with chevron and checkered patterns. Based on scientific research, it has been established that the Shona, a Bantu population from the Iron Age, inhabited the location sparingly throughout prehistoric times. This Bantu population created Great Zimbabwe in the 11th century, During the 14th century, this city served as the main urban center of a significant state that encompassed the gold-rich plateaus. The population of the city surpassed 10,000 residents. By approximately 1450, the capital was deserted due to the inability of the surrounding area to provide enough food for the densely populated city and the extensive depletion of forests. The subsequent movement proved advantageous for Kami, as it emerged as the dominant city in the area, but also indicated a decline in political authority. In 1505, the Portuguese established a settlement in Sofala, which was formerly divided between the competing kingdoms of Torwa and Mutapa. The magnitude of long-standing trade with the outside world has been attested to by the discovery of gold and Arab coins from Kilwa, as well as glass beads and porcelain from China and Persia during archaeological investigations. Additional evidence, such as fragments of pottery and items made of iron, provides greater understanding of the property's socio-economic intricacy and the practices of farming and herding. The presence of a colossal granite cross at a historically valued and important spiritual site serves as evidence of the community's interaction with missionaries. However, our knowledge regarding these remnants is limited. European travelers in the late 19th century were the first to document them, with some speculating that they were created by a long-lost white civilization. The notion has subsequently been discredited, and the inquiry into the creators of Great Zimbabwe and their origins continues to be a matter of contention. There is a scholarly debate on the origins of the builders of the structure. Some say that they were indigenous, specifically from the Bantu-speaking Shona tribe. On the other hand, some propose that they were migrants who came from either the coastal regions or North Africa. The mysterious Richat structure. The Richat structure, sometimes called the Eye of the Sahara, is a large bullseye-shaped geological structure located in the Sahara Desert. The formation spans a 40-kilometer wide expanse of the desert in the country of Mauritania. Throughout millennia, the knowledge of the formation was limited to a small number of indigenous nomadic tribes. The Gemini astronauts first captured images of it in the 1960s, using it as a reference point to monitor the advancement of their landing procedures. Subsequently, the Landsat satellite captured supplementary photographs and furnished data regarding the dimensions, elevation, and scope of the formation. The Eye of the Sahara was first thought by geologists to be an impact crater formed when an object from space collided with the Earth. Nevertheless, extensive analyses of the rocks within the formation indicate that its origins are solely terrestrial. It has been determined by geologists that the Eye of the Sahara is a geologic dome. The formation has rocks that have a minimum age of 100 million years, with some dating back to a time well before the emergence of life on Earth. These rocks consist of both igneous volcanic deposits and sedimentary layers that are formed by the wind pushing layers of dust and water, depositing sand and mud. The entire area surrounding the Eye was raised millions of years ago by volcanic activity that originated deep beneath the surface of the Earth. These regions were not arid wastelands, as they currently are. It is probable that they were considerably milder, characterized by a plentiful supply of flowing water. Stratified sandstone formations were formed through Aeolian deposition in lacustrine and fluvial environments throughout the temperate period. The subterranean volcanic magma gradually exerted enough force to uplift the layers of sandstone and other rock formations above it. Following the cessation of volcanic activity, the process of wind and water erosion commenced, gradually eroding the successive layers of rock, forming the domed structure. The region underwent a process of stabilization and contraction, resulting in the formation of a round eye characteristic. It is important to mention that there are still some who believe that the construction is, in fact, the remnants of the mythical city of Atlantis, as its circular form is claimed to bear resemblance to the region described by Plato. The account from ancient Greece is conveyed to us through recorded history, specifically by Plato, one of the most prolific writers in philosophy. Atlantis is initially mentioned in the stories Timaeus and Critias by the author. In the dialogue Timaeus, the character Critias recounts a narrative to Socrates. The protagonist Solon, who is a historical predecessor of Plato, embarks on a lengthy voyage to Egypt in this narrative. He converses with an Egyptian priest about ancient history. The priest, not impressed by Solon's stories, resolves to enlighten him with an obscure historical narrative that was unfamiliar to the Greeks during that period. An Egyptian elder provides Solon with a synopsis of the ideal state of Athens, predating the Athenians' own historical records. He characterizes Athens during this period as being exceptional in all intellectual endeavors, leading a virtuous lifestyle, and adhering to the principle of moderation. The text describes the efforts of Atlantis, a formidable kingdom, to conquer neighboring civilizations, especially Egypt. However, it was the Athenians who successfully thwarted their ambitions. Right after their loss, the continent of Atlantis was engulfed by devastating floods and earthquakes, resulting in the submergence of the land under muddy terrain, rendering the once navigable seas impassable. Plato provides a more elaborate account of Atlantis in his work, Critias. Atlantis was established by Poseidon, the deity who developed a deep affection for a mortal woman named Cleito. Collectively, they had 5 pairs of twins, who eventually grew up and assumed control over the 10 distinct provinces of Atlantis. Over time, it is hypothesized that these monarchs gradually partitioned sections of this legendary territory, with the intention of establishing a lasting heritage within each family. The Atlanteans developed into a highly sophisticated culture, surpassing all other contemporary civilizations in terms of advancement. They were renowned for their advanced skills in sea navigation, city planning, military endeavors, and agricultural practices. The city of Atlantis was a central citadel surrounded by 6 concentric rings, consisting of 3 rings of water and 3 circles of land. Plato's dialogue depicts the city of Atlantis as situated 50 stades away from the sea, equivalent to little less than 6 miles. Atlantis was linked to the ocean with a canal that was 300 feet in width and 100 feet in depth. The canal terminated at a harbor located near the settlement. Plato described Atlantis as a continent that was bigger than the combined size of Asia and Libya. The city is situated amidst expansive plains that span around 230 miles in width and 345 miles in length. Towards the northern end of the continent, there is a substantial mountain range, while the remaining central plains are encircled by smaller mountains. The entire continent was characterized as having fertile soil, abundant plant and animal biodiversity, including elephants, and favorable temperatures for supporting various life forms. Plato meticulously documents several characteristics of Atlantis in great detail throughout the dialogue. He describes the central palace, exquisite bathhouses, temples, gold and silver statues, gardens, aqueducts, water storage systems, residential buildings for both humans and animals, guardhouses, and even racetracks. In the city of Atlantis, bulls were revered and considered sacred, freely wandering the streets. Plato proceeds to delineate more settlements of individuals in the adjacent regions of the continent, categorizing them as affluent agriculturalists and rural inhabitants. Plato elucidates the organizational structure of the military implemented by the city-state of Atlantis. He provides extensive information about the different positions held by individuals in the ancient city and its social structure, ranging from the king to the citizens. In the latter part of the Timaeus debate, Plato discusses the Atlanteans' descent into complacency within their human nature as they succumb to corruption fueled by greed and gradually lose their sense of dignity. In the conclusion of the Critias, it is stated that Zeus intends to exact vengeance for these deeds, and subsequently, the conversation abruptly terminates. Timaeus and Critias, like much of Plato's writings, are often interpreted by scholars as fictional narratives intended to convey metaphorical meanings. However, there are also many who consider them to be genuine historical records of actual occurrences. Solon, moreover, was a direct predecessor of Plato, and plausibly had the opportunity to personally journey to Egypt, where he could have acquired knowledge of Atlantis, subsequently transmitting the account to Plato. An argument in favor of the existence of Atlantis is the meticulous level of detail that Plato employed in his description of this ancient civilization. Why expend such a significant amount of energy on elucidating the most infinitesimal particulars, solely to convey a metaphor? Plato provided Critias with specific and logical information about a place that may have existed in the past and could potentially now exist, including dimensions of the entire continent, as well as data about the depth and width of the canals and concentric circles within the city. Plato may have potentially utilized a genuine historical account as a basis and then enhanced it with an artistic method to effectively convey his metaphors. Several Atlantologists, who specialize in studying flood history documented by ancient Egyptians, Mesoamericans, and some European societies, also maintain the belief that Plato was recounting genuine historical occurrences. The prevailing belief is that the deluge that submerged Atlantis is identical to the flood depicted in the narrative of Noah's Ark. However, flood narratives can be traced back to a time predating the Bible, and numerous of these narratives exhibit striking resemblances with just minor variations. Therefore, it raises the question, what is the reason behind the prevalence of identical flood stories throughout various cultures? One hypothesis posits that these floods occurred during the final stages of the previous glacial period. This aligns with Plato's account of the demise of Atlantis, as recounted by the Egyptian sage around 9,000 years prior to Solon's visit to Egypt. This is when empirically validated geological discoveries become relevant. Scientific evidence confirms that around 11,600 years ago, the Earth saw significant increases in sea level. In order for this idea to be logical, it is necessary to assume that Atlantis existed during the last ice age. Furthermore, it is speculated that towards the conclusion of this age, a pole shift may have occurred, resulting in several catastrophic catastrophes.